Hello, everyone, and welcome to Warming the Bench. Sorry about that. Welcome back. It's Bev and Daniela here. Bev, how are you doing today?
All right, Dan. Dan, were you waiting for me to say something?
I was waiting. I think I got confused by introduction, guys. It is Mondaying very hard today for me. Let me just tell you, I apologize, everyone. But yes, how are you, Bev? Minus my little spacing out over here.
I'm absolutely fine, Dan. How are you?
I'm well, thank you very much. Thank you for everyone's patience for this day. I might have some more gaps today. I apologize in advance. Again, welcome back, everyone. Bev, let's just get right into it. What are we chatting about today?
Oh, well, it's very difficult to keep on top of this. It's the transfers, obviously the summer signings,
Yeah.
etc. I've put together some work, some research on Liverpool, Charlton Athletic, and Crystal Palace. And since I did it, is there
Mm,
are already new signings on top of that. So I'm sorry, you'll have to go with what I've got and add the rest.
mhm,
um, Me and Dan decided that we would look at some clubs that have gone a little bit under the radar. I mean, everybody's talking about
mhm.
London City Lionesses, your Arsenals, your
Arsenal.
Chelseas, your Man Cities, in terms of the WSL, that
Hmm.
is. But we're going to go for
Hmm.
the other ones: Liverpool, Charlton Athletic, and Crystal Palace. Is that right, Dan?
Absolutely is. And I know that you were really keen to talk about these ones. So we're going to go over some of these more specific ones. And then I've picked out just a couple of random ones. Some of them are in Liverpool and more recent ones. So I can definitely contribute over there. And then just a couple of random ones in the WSL and a couple of big signings here in the NSL on this side of the ocean or of the pond. So Bev, without further ado, kick us off.
Right, I'm going to start with Liverpool then, Dan. So, in summary,
Yeah.
I'm looking at Liverpool as a very hard-working and organised team. So one of the things
Hmm.
about them is that they are very difficult to break down when they don't have the ball, and they have compact defending units. So they have
Hmm.
an excellent midfield, and the intelligence is great in terms of Kerry Holland and Foucault Nagano. Yeah, they bring that
Hmm.
energy, the
Yeah.
ball retention, and defensive cover. Another fantastic
Hmm.
system within their defensive elements is that of Captain Grace Fisk. Yeah, she's an
Mm,
important organizer at centre back, and she's also a great
mhm.
communicator. And then we've
Yeah.
got mental resilience added to this. And you've got to say, considering what they've been through in the last year to 18 months, Dan, I mean, exceptionally difficult situation that they were faced with. And then obviously had
Yeah.
to replace the manager with Gareth Taylor. And let's face it, Dan, he came from Man
Mhm.
City under a cloud, really, didn't he? Considering what was
Yes, he did.
going on with Chloe Kelly. So that added another very complex component part to the situation. So in terms of that mental resilience and, and that defense mentality, they really are good in defense and very difficult to break down. Now, some of the things
Mhm.
that they need to improve, therefore, you've got an imbalance. So you've got a great defensive, but you do need attack. Yeah.
Mhm.
You do
Yep.
need, you can't sit in defense for all time. You do need to attack and score goals, because sitting in defense or being out of the ball or out of possession means that you have to problem solve. You have to use your mental agility as well as your
Mhm.
physical agility, because you're not, you're
Mhm.
not controlling. You have to concentrate for a huge length of time, and added to that, heat and all sorts of things on top of that. That's a very difficult thing to do,
Mhm.
isn't it?
Absolutely is. Yep.
So what they've done
Mhm.
from the signings I had at the time then, Dan, is Vivian Enderman. She's a
Mhm.
Germany international. Sarah
Yep.
Ogres, Slovenian
Mhm.
international. Mari Ward,
Yep.
she's the under 23 England player. And obviously, we've got
Mhm.
Chiara Keating. I think a lot of people are aware that she signed, and she's a young England international. I
Yes.
saw some footage of her being reunited with Gareth Taylor, and they looked so pleased to see
Mhm.
each other. They really did, because she got some really
They did.
great, yeah, she got some really great
Mhm.
minutes under Gareth Taylor, didn't she?
Mhm. I think also for Kiara Keating, sh what I liked about this signing specifically was I
Mm,
remember when she was playing at Man City, and she had that one year she was like the starting goalkeeper. She was quite young, 18, 19, whatever it was. And even in her moments of maybe making mistakes or whatever it was, she would
mm,
never was benched the next game.
no,
And that just spoke to Gareth Taylor and the training staff or the coaching staff, just basically saying, you know what, it's okay that you're making mistakes. Like, let's work through them instead of punishing her for those mistakes, which is very important, especially for a young player.
absolutely. But isn't it interesting, Dan, considering what
Hmm.
happened to Chloe Kelly, and,
Hmm.
in the end, she got so desperate, she felt she needed to say something. And then obviously she went,
Hmm.
got a transfer to Arsenal. But there we are talking about Keating in a very positive light
Hmm.
in relation
Yeah.
to Gareth Taylor. So
Hmm.
isn't it interesting,
Yeah.
these different players' experiences?
Yeah. I think it's very reminiscent of a workplace in general, right? You're not always
Yes,
going to get along sometimes with your coworkers, with your superiors. It's a very, very, very similar. Obviously, there's different things that have gone on. Gareth Taylor's had other issues. He tends to fall out with players. But I think it's just honestly, everyone's experience really is unique, and that's just very much a workplace thing in general.
absolutely. So I'm going to look at these international players, which in itself is a strength, I think, because obviously, all right, they want to
Mm-hmm.
survive, but they want to do better because, at least in comparison to Crystal Palace and Charlton and Athletic, Liverpool do have a
Mm-hmm.
lot of experience in the WSL. So they at least have that
Yes.
as a strength behind them.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of strengthening even more their defensive spine, if you like, um, they've
Mm-hmm.
got Sarah Argres. So she's a centre back, yeah, and she is
Mm-hmm.
defensive reliability in that regard. So she'll strengthen the defensive spine.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have
Mm-hmm.
Keating, who is the goalkeeper. Now she has fantastic shot keeping, but her
Yeah.
distribution is great as well. And she plays out from the back, which is fantastic
Mm-hmm.
in terms of Taylor's structure and the way he's got
Yeah.
Liverpool set up. Yeah. So they can build from the back
Mm-hmm.
and build an attack back from the back. Now, in terms of counteracting the imbalance in terms of attack, you will have um, Vivian Enderman as the forward winger, but
Mm-hmm.
she is explosive and she is very versatile and
Mm-hmm.
creative within that role, and
Yeah.
supported with Mary Ward as a fullback on the left and the right, because
Mm-hmm.
she can pull out the defence, and then you've got your attackers going forward, because at the moment you can tell that they're building, because it's always Kiri Holland that builds an attack,
Mm-hmm.
and then the wide players
Mm-hmm.
as well. So there's always those attacks can be broken down very quickly. But with Vivian
Yeah.
Enderman, she adds that strength and that explosive attacking. Would you agree, Dan?
Mm-hmm. I agree. I think because this deal was done a few months ago, it kind of people maybe have forgotten about that Liverpool signed Vivian Endeman. I think they signed her in March or April, so it was kind
Mm,
of before the actual window opened because the Bundesliga rules are a little different. This was a really big surprise and honestly a really big coup for Liverpool and for the WSL. Like Endeman is probably one of the most dynamic and exciting players of the Bundesliga.
Yeah.
Again, you mentioned her pace. I think she's also, if you've watched her with Germany especially, she's very intelligent. Like her movement off the ball is very intelligent.
Mm.
And again, she brings that versatility, as you mentioned. So you have all of those things combined, and she's very um, smart in her pressing. So she presses really aggressively and really intensely. And I think that's something Liverpool have been missing because again they're really organized defensively, but that attacking quality has been lacking, right? And she's very, very good in transition, and Liverpool do like to play a little bit in transition as well, especially as they're building towards more of that possession that they want to have. So this was a really exciting signing for me actually, and the fact that we're just now talking about it and it's gone again a little bit under the radar, massive coup for Liverpool, and probably one of my favorite moves in the WSL so far.
Yeah. Yeah. I hope it works out for them that they, they finish higher up the
Mhm.
table. It might be likely because obviously the WSL has extended by two teams to 14 from 12 to 14. So hopefully they'll
Yeah.
push towards the middle a bit by strengthening their
Mhm.
attacking prowess.
Definitely. Yep. You can tell they were trying to build towards that. And Bev, can I just bring up actually, because Liverpool announced the signing this morning, actually,
Mm,
um, that I'm a little bit excited by, mostly because we don't know too much about her. So she's a young Japanese international coming over from, I'm not even going to try to say it, it's the Dutch league.
mm.
I'm not going to try to say what the name is. Forgive me. She's coming over from Feyenoord. And it's not really a huge name, but she's kind of an up-and-comer Japanese youth international, another attacking midfielder. So again, they're really strengthening in those forward areas.
Yes.
But one thing, when I just did a little bit of research about her briefly this morning, um, some of her highest attributes from what has been said by the Dutch league, and she was actually their um, player of the year with that team, specifically last year or last season. They said that she's really calm under pressure. So her name is Mayo Itamura. I probably pronounced that incorrectly. Yeah, but calmness under pressure, very, very good vision, especially in those transitional moments. And she is really good progressing the ball through midfield. So her ball control is really good. So this is someone with probably a really high ceiling. So it's probably a signing for the future, but building for the future type of scenario because they see the high potential. And I think there is quite some high potential in here, um, especially like we said, when they're looking to have a little bit more of the creativity against a lower block or creativity in progressing the ball and trying to widen their attacking potential as well.
Yeah, it did say it was a rebuild, and from the player you've mentioned and the other younger players, that would seem to be the case.
Hmm. Yes, for sure. They're definitely building towards something, and hopefully they continue to support Gareth Taylor in doing this as well.
Yeah. Shall I carry on and then you can do the NWSL on your side of the pond, or what would you like to do, Dan?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
Yeah,
Shall
yeah,
I
go
carry
for
on?
it.
Okay then.
Yeah.
So Crystal Palace. Now, Crystal
Hmm.
Palace was out of the WSL, got relegated about a year ago, if
Hmm.
I remember
Yes.
correctly. Um, now
Yes.
some people might argue, well, that's not long, but I'm afraid to say, I think that actually is a long time considering all the changes at pace that are happening with
Hmm.
the WSL. So
Hmm.
I'm thinking that one of the weaknesses here, Dan, might be the fact that they need to get up to speed very, very quickly in terms of
Yeah.
especially in terms of their creating attacking midfielders and ball retention.
Hmm.
Would you agree with that?
Hmm. I agree. Yeah. My Palace last season in the WSL were, or when they were in this, yeah, when they were in the WSL before they got relegated, um, they had potential, especially like they had some pretty decent forwards, Abigail Blanchard being one of them. But what was unfortunate and what you could see very quickly is kind of what you mentioned is not being really up to pace of the WSL. You
Mm,
could tell their fitness kind of drained out about that 70-minute mark. So the ability to keep going and stay in games. Because what I remember from a lot of their games were in the first 45, they were pretty good. They kept a lot of teams on their toes. But as those minutes dragged on,
mm.
teams broke them very quickly and they did concede a lot of goals. because again, they just could not hold on to the ball in any way or in a lot of ways, and they also just could not have that defensive solidity to stay in the game. The fitness levels were not there. So this is probably, as you mentioned, a team who's going to want to address those things, and hopefully, even in their overall training regimen, they understand now, having been in the WSL once, what it's going to take to stay in games for that full 90 minutes from the fitness and from also the types of players that they're going to have in their squad.
One of the things that the key weaknesses I did pull out was the inconsistent goal scoring. So Palace have at times
Hmm.
struggled to convert possession and chances into goals. The creative midfield
Hmm.
depth. So there's still a need for more consistent creativity from midfield. It's particularly in dictating tempo and incisive
Hmm.
passing. Squad depth,
Yeah.
as you've already mentioned, yeah, and
Hmm.
especially when they're up against clubs like Chelsea and Arsenal and Man City. I think they may struggle,
Hmm.
to be honest with you, Dan. I just being realistic here. And ball retention under
Yeah.
pressure. Now, something I'm going to throw out
Hmm.
here, because now we've got the inclusion of Bethany England, yeah, who is a
Yes. Yeah.
proven
Big
goal
signing.
scorer. I mean, she's
Hmm.
such an experienced goal scorer, isn't she? I mean, she's played for her
Hmm.
country. She played at the World Cup. She's played in, I don't think she did play in the Euros in 2022. I don't think she did. I think she was benched. But nonetheless, she's also been a leader and the captain of Tottenham Hotspur. Now, all of that has got to count for something. Now, if you combine
Hmm.
that, and I hope to see this
Hmm.
included, is Ashley Virden and Lola Brown.
Hmm.
Because what I see with
Hmm.
Bethany England, if you talk about, attacking, is that
Hmm.
you've got Bethany England is the proven goal scorer, that intelligent movement, hold up play, and leadership in the final third. She's very good finding spaces and being creative within the box, I think. And then if you've got
Yeah.
Ashley Virden, who is always
Hmm.
she provides the wide areas, doesn't she? She operates within the wide areas. And if she's operating within the
Hmm.
wide areas, she pulls out defence, creating the
Hmm.
opportunities for Bethany England. But Lola Brown, she's got that energy,
Hmm.
that pace, she's got precision passing,
Hmm.
but she also links midfield to
Hmm.
the box, the attacking third. So
Hmm.
that to me, that's variety, that's creativity, that's depth within that unit, and there's experience in leadership. Do you think that will make a difference, Dan?
I think Bethany England will absolutely make a difference, just from her overall quality. As you mentioned, she's a proven striker. She's one of the better strikers or best strikers in the WSL and has quite a bit of goals across um,
Mm.
Tottenham, Chelsea, and that loan spell she did at Liverpool about 6, 7 years back, or whatever it is. My concern is you mentioned Lola Brown. So Lola Brown's gone. She's going back to Chelsea. Now, if they loan her back out to Crystal Palace, that will be fantastic for them.
She is.
If they don't, they're gonna have, yeah, she's gone back. I'm not sure if they're gonna loan her back out. It's just gonna
Yeah,
depend
she has.
on
She's
what the
gone back
squad
to
building
Crystal
at her.
Palace. Sorry, Dan, she has gone back to Crystal Palace. That was my latest research.
Okay.
Or did you know differently?
Yeah, there hasn't been an announcement from Chelsea yet. I think maybe it's speculated she'll go back,
Ah,
just because of squad numbers and so forth and how they're gonna work that out. Um,
yeah.
but we can confirm that. So if she is going back, fantastic, because she was really good for them in coming up to the getting promoted again, and she was really good for Palace. And I know it can tell she also enjoyed being there. Um, so if that's the case, then yeah, Lola brings that. If not, let's say she doesn't go back, there's a little bit of a hole there, and I'm struggling to see where they're going to fill that unless they are going to be doing a little bit more loan moves, which is pretty common in teams that do kind of come up for that season, just to kind of gauge where they're at and how they can try to fill their squad, because sometimes it is difficult to sell players on a project, which Crystal Palace is a project, right? It's newly promoted. It's a little bit of a harder sell. unless you've been in the league for a while and you understand what that promotion means and what it means to be in a promoted team and how you can help them build, as Bethany England probably understands. And that's, I'm going to assume, why she wanted to sign for them and wanted to sign with them, because she sees the potential. She obviously would have also played against them a couple of seasons ago when they were in the league. So she knows what is there and maybe what's being built behind the scenes as well.
Yeah. Well, thanks for that, Dan. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
like I said, well, like we've both said,
it's
this
hard.
transfer and
Hmm.
signings is moving at such pace. It is really difficult to
So
keep up with
fast.
it, isn't it?
It is. I don't even know. I'm gonna honestly, I'm gonna Google as we keep talking. I'm gonna Google right now because I'm confused by some of them. There's so many things, and sometimes you're missing them. This transfer window, guys, has been absolutely insane, as Bev knows. And there's just news after news, and
Mm,
people are doing loans or they're going back to their parent clubs and maybe being
mm,
loaned back out. And sometimes
mm,
those loans tend to fall a little under the radar as well because a lot of them are youth players or academy, just newly come up from the academy type of players, so they don't really make as big of a splash. But we
mm.
will confirm the Lola Brown one. I would not be surprised though. So if she is back, I mean, I know she's back, but if she is going to go back to Crystal Palace, I would not be surprised at all, to be honest with you. She did really well there. And those are what a lot of the bigger clubs want when they loan players out, is that a lot
Mm.
of minutes, ability to develop a lot better, and honestly, just seeing them thrive in that sort of environment. That's how you know if a loan has really worked out well, right?
Well, absolutely. When I watched her play that last game where they actually got promoted, um, she was
Hmm.
on fire, Dan. She really was.
Yes.
Absolutely. The
Hmm.
precision passing, and she had 3 assists in what, in about 20,
Yeah.
30 minutes? Yeah. So,
It's
if it is
ridiculous.
that she combines with
Mhm,
Bethany England, Ashley Reardon, that would be absolutely fabulous. I
mhm.
think they'll be on fire in it in terms of their attacking sense and balance out the overall team.
Oh, completely. Yeah, it would be interesting. I mean, if I had to hazard a guess, I would say she probably will go back. I wouldn't be surprised to see it. And also, Palace know what type of player she is, so why not want to extend that loan, right?
Absolutely. Shall we move on to Charlton
Hmm.
Athletic?
Oh, sure. Yes. Let's go for it.
Yeah, Charlton Athletic. Now, Charlton Athletic have not been in the WSL for a very long time. In
For a
fact,
while.
I think they were
Mm.
2007 when it was like in the National
Oh, wow.
Premier League before it was even a
Hmm.
WSL. So WSL was
Yes.
created in 2011, wasn't it? So I have to say,
Hmm.
wow, you know, I've got a lot of prayers for them this year. This is really going to be about surviving, isn't it? Flying by the seat of their pants. And I didn't
Yeah.
realize that the pedigree of Karen Hills, because she is one of the strengths that I'm going to I'm going to argue for the actual club. She is a great strength for them because she's got quite a pedigree, hasn't she?
Mhm. Yeah, she does. And she's been, like you said, a great pedigree. And also, what struck me was when I was reading some of the content that was coming out after Charlton had been promoted, is the amount of respect that that organization and the players and the staff and everyone has for her.
Mm.
It's incredible, and the respect right back. Like, she is genuinely the heart and soul of that club right now, and it's really exciting to see them kind of building again. They came from the lower tiers, they're into the WSL 2, and then now into the WSL, and there's so much hard work that has gone on behind that. And she's really been celebrated as a massive part of that, and as she should be.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, one of the things that have come from Karen is that she
Hmm.
is a team. It's not
Yeah.
it's not about individual players. There's no individual stars within the team. It is a team, and they
Hmm.
all
Yeah.
work together. They collaborate together, especially defensively. They've got great defensive structure and great defensive lines, and they very
Hmm.
rarely leave spaces between midfield and defense. Some of their
Hmm.
weaknesses is they need greater technical quality because they'll have less
Yeah.
time on the ball once they actually go to the WSL and time to recover their
Hmm.
shape and build attacks. They'll be under greater pressure
Yeah.
from the likes of Chelsea and Arsenal and Man City, won't they? Ball retention isn't
Mhm.
that great. More pace in wide
No.
areas. Yeah.
Mhm.
And more
Yep.
goals, really. They need the strikers. So what they need then, the
Mhm.
priority recruitment order would seem to be defensive midfield,
Mhm.
WSL
Yep.
experienced centre back, creative attacking
Mhm.
midfielder, a pacey winger.
Mhm.
Again, I take it to pull out the defence and create spaces at the front to attack, additional
Mhm.
striker, and backup fullback and goalkeeper. Anything to add to that,
Mhm.
Dan?
Yeah. No, I think experience is going to be a huge part of all of those areas you mentioned. So getting some WSL ready players, which is going to be very difficult, again, unfortunately. Um, but I was just looking over who they just recently signed. So it's not WSL ready, but they just signed a youngster from Australia, from the A-League women there, Grace Johnson. She's kind of a midfielder, hybrid defender. So I think that's interesting that we're seeing some of the recruitment has been interesting because Charlton, again, it's independent. If I am I wrong in saying that, or it's not tied to a big Premier League club, right?
Sure, Dan.
I don't think they're
Yeah.
tied to any. Oh, they're not tied to a Premier League club for sure. I don't know if they have a team in the, forgive me, in the men's championship. But what I'm seeing with the independents or a little bit more of these newly promoted clubs is they're starting to broaden a lot of um, their recruitment. So you're seeing a lot of the bigger clubs kind of poaching from the Netherlands and Sweden, but some of these guys are going into Australia. They're going to the U.S. college system or university system. They're coming into the Canadian side. They're kind of going into France, Australia. There's so many different areas of recruitment now because there are so many good players in a lot of these leagues in a lot of these countries that might not be visible to a lot of us. So some of these players that are coming in are going to be kind of unknowns, right? Like you're not really sure what you're getting, especially if they're being poached from unknown arenas or places that are not very well watched, I would say, right? Because most of us are not watching the A-League women. Most of us are probably not watching college or university soccer in the United States, right? So it's quite interesting how the recruitment strategies are shaping up for all of these teams.
But that's very exciting because that injects another unknown entity, doesn't it, within the WSL?
Hmm. It does. It does because you don't know, like we just mentioned this player that um, Liverpool just signed from the Dutch league. Like most of us don't watch it. I don't even know if there is an avenue to watch it. Like we should probably know these things, but it's unknown. Okay, well, what are we getting with this player? What are we getting
Mm,
from this great? Her name is Grace Johnson, now coming over to Charlton from Australia. What are we getting when we get a college or university player from the United States? You have no idea because most of us are not watching them, right? And
mm,
it is fascinating because then it forces teams to have to tactically, okay, well, we don't know, this is an unknown entity. How are we going to approach this match, or how are we going
mm,
to approach how we deal with this player by not knowing? And obviously, clubs will know a lot more. They have people who do these things for a living, obviously analysts and stuff, right? But some of these
mm.
things are not easy to obtain the footage, understanding about players, statistics, all that kind of stuff. Depending on where they are, it might be a little bit more difficult to get that information. So, like you said, it's very unknown and it's very exciting too.
Oh, I think so. Wow. Yeah, we'll see what unfolds. It's very interesting, Dan, because I would say that, all right, let's put aside your all the battles and your Alexia Putellas
Mm,
and what's going on with London City
mhm,
Lionesses and the signings of Stanway coming back to Arsenal. Um, there
mhm.
just seems to be a very different vibe building before
Mhm.
pre
Yeah.
WSL season. What do you think? Very exciting
Yeah.
vibe.
Exciting. Yeah. I think, as I mentioned, kind of recruitment and how teams are going about adding to their squads or building their squads if they're newly promoted. That's what's very exciting because you're starting to see first of all, we're starting to see a lot of moves that are like, whoa, what's going on here? What do you mean this person went here? Like I mentioned Vivian Endeman to Liverpool, right? Just things like that that you weren't really expecting, or you might not be completely familiar with. But it just goes to show how much is actually being put into this sort of development, and squads are starting, or clubs, excuse me, are starting to figure out, well, we need to be really savvy in how we're recruiting. Whether we have the resources to do it at a high level or not, they're really getting creative with how they're selecting players and where they're selecting players from and what types of players they're selecting. And you can almost feel, that again, that little unknown, as we just spoke about in, oh, well, we don't know what some of these teams are going to look like come September, whenever the
Mm.
season kicks off, right, first, second week of September. And that's pretty exciting because for a while there, it felt like you kind of knew what you were getting for the most part with some of these clubs. But now there's so many that we just don't know. And I think that's what the exciting part is.
Oh, definitely. Most definitely. I mean, Tottenham are the same, aren't they? They're rebuilding.
Yeah.
They've got quite a young squad now. So,
Hmm.
it's going to be very
Yeah.
exciting. Well, Dan, over to you for the other side of the pond then. That's me done.
Yeah, over to me. I actually wanted to call out a couple of other ones in the WSL that might have gone a little bit under the radar before we kind of hit over this way. So Manchester United, they've been a little quiet, but
Mm.
they signed a Spanish fullback, Andrea Medina. They signed
Mm-hmm.
her from Liga F, so I believe she came over from Atletico Madrid, if I'm not mistaken. It's not a very flashy signing, but I think it's an important one for United. That left fullback position with Anna Sandberg, she was kind of in and out injured. Gabby George hasn't been very reliable, but she's very technical, Andrea Medina. So this is something that's going to add a little bit more to that back line. And United, for the most part, maybe minus a couple of odd games, they've been fairly solid defensively.
Mm.
And their fullbacks, again, are pretty good. You think of Jade Riviere when she stays healthy, probably one of the better right backs in the league. Um, and Andrea Medina, from what I watched a couple of Atletico games because I was a little bit interested, and also they were in the Champions League, so you had a little bit of more exposure to her. She's really comfortable defending higher up the pitch, and I think that speaks a little bit to the Spanish style almost. I think you're pretty aware of it as well, just what that looks like and how they kind of train
Yes.
players. It's a little different
Yeah.
in Spain, right? A little more comfortable on the ball. And that's something. So her progressive passing is really good because of that comfortability level on the ball. And she brings out a little bit of that experience from that Spanish style, which I think is going to blend fairly well with your likes of Dominique Janssen and Maya Letizier in that back line. Again, Jade Riviere. And then that midfield, Hinata Miyazawa, very, very technical players. So it's going to be something that's kind of to keep an eye on from a United standpoint. And United, what I noticed in their games last year is they did kind of struggle to progress the ball through defense. So I think it will not be surprising to see them go to the wide channel, especially with someone like Medina, who's going to be a lot more comfortable to do that in that left-sided position.
Sounds
Another one that just came down a couple of days ago. Yeah, yeah, it's pretty
mm,
exciting. Again, not flashy, but I think someone that probably to pay attention to or pay a little bit
mm.
of spotlight on. One that came down a couple of days ago, you probably would have seen it, Kelly Gago, Everton to West Ham.
Yes.
West Ham, an
Everton, yes.
interesting one. Yeah, right? So there was some kind of chatter that she wanted out of Everton. I don't know particularly
I
what
heard
went on
that.
there, but
She
she
wasn't
has
happy
moved,
with
right?
Brian, yeah, Sorensen, was she? It
Sorensen.
was just not the right
Yeah,
dynamics between those two, I think.
happy. Exactly. And now that he's gone, maybe it just wasn't a system fit anymore. I'm not sure. But she, interesting signing for West Ham because West Ham are one of those ones, and I think you would agree, Bev, that almost season on season they've kind of coasted and been pretty,
Mm,
they've managed to survive relegation, but just like barely. I don't know how
yes.
they do it every season. Yeah, they're just kind of coasting. And I think with the addition of the extra teams now, they probably realize they need to do something to make sure that they're not in that relegation battle again this season.
Mm, mm,
Um, so Kelly Gago, really fun signing. I think she's actually a little bit underrated, and perhaps it's
mm.
because she was struggling a bit at Everton to really completely kick on. but she's really good with being direct. And I think West Ham, as a team who's probably not going to maintain possession, they're going to want to go very direct when they do attack in transition, right? So really good at running in behind defenders. She's very fast, so that helps, of course, to do that. And again, on the counter attack, she gives them kind of that outlet. Center forward, but she can also play out on the wings if they need her to. I would assume she's probably going to be their striker.
Mm.
And she's very tall. So at five, I believe she's 5'10", so 178 meters for anyone who measures it that way. She's going to be really good at occupying like a lot of those center backs, but she'll probably be good aerially as well. She'll probably be a target on set pieces if that's what they're going to focus on, which I would assume they would do if they're going to be bringing in a very tall center forward. So this was a really fun signing. I think it's going to work out well for West Ham. I don't know. I have a good feeling about it. What are your thoughts on Kelly Gago to
Yeah,
West Ham?
I thought she was absolutely brilliant. And considering,
Mhm,
maybe the pressure she might have been under because she was unhappy, and it's said that she was unhappy, but I thought she was
mhm.
really a very exciting player, to be honest with you. A very exciting player.
Yeah.
And her going to West
Mhm.
Ham would be great. But is there any additional signings for West Ham, or is that it?
Yeah, they signed a couple of youngsters as well. Neve Peacock came over from Arsenal, so I believe she's a midfielder, youth
Yeah,
international. They made the loan for Estelle Cascarino, so defender from Juventus. They made that permanent, so now she's signed permanently. So both bolstering the defense a bit. So
yeah.
I think West Ham are slowly starting to put some of those pieces together.
Mm,
Um, and I don't know. The manager appointment, Rita Guarino, was an interesting one. I think the Serie A that she came from in Italy is quite different to the WSL. It's also just recently been professional in the last couple of years, so a little bit of a different environment, which is probably why she struggled a bit in her
mm.
games when she started, whatever it was, midway through last season with West Ham. But probably getting your feet wet a little bit is what's important, and it's clear she's trying to put her own stamp on this team. And someone like Gago, I mean, with Rico Ueki and Vivian Asai, I think in the attack would be pretty exciting, honestly. So one to watch. And like I said, they seem to be targeting some youth internationals that are maybe being released from the clubs. So definitely one to pay attention to. West Ham
I
could be an
I
interesting
I
one.
won Yeah, I wondered what was going to happen to her because obviously there wasn't much improvement. And as you say, Dan, they coasted. They kind of went
Mhm,
under the radar a bit, but they
mhm.
were always near to the edge, weren't they, in terms of were they going to be
Yeah, it's like
relegated or
just
not?
there.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
But we
teetering.
then adding to the excitement, I think there's a little bit of an underbelly now. Well, I'm struggling to find
Mhm,
the right word here, but I'm heading now
mhm,
towards the underbelly in that now the standards for coaches, for managers, for players is much higher.
mhm,
Perform or move on.
mhm.
That's
Yeah,
added to the
it's
mix
true.
of the
And it's
excitement.
It is, and it's like you said, those standards are raising higher. Maybe getting a little too much um, in the quick to release managers. I do think they need a little
Yes.
bit of time, so I don't think after six
Mm,
months you can say, "Oh, well, that didn't work, so let's fire the coach."
mm,
Um, I think if it's 5 or 6 years and you've done absolutely nothing, yes, you've probably waited too long to fire your coach.
mm.
But I think they need a good year and a half with a couple of transfer windows to see what kind of business they do, and just this is just in general, and how that business, um, what's the return on that business on the pitch, right? Are they progressing? Are they going further in competitions? Do they look like they're more ambitious? Because then you could probably gauge what those managers are about instead of just, oh, well, here's 5 or 6 games, go see what you do, and then we'll fire you afterwards. That's not
Yeah,
really,
yeah,
you can't really figure it out from there too, right? Yeah,
yeah,
it's hard. It's a
absolutely.
balancing act, I think.
It
Hmm.
certainly is. Yeah.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Another one just recently announced. I'm going to try to say this name. Mathilda Harkoven.
Oh my
Harviken.
God.
Um, oh my God, exactly. I definitely butchered that. Apologies. She's a Norwegian international. Also came over from the Serie A. She's a defender. She's coming over to Aston Villa. Um, Aston Villa are a weird one for me. I feel like they come in every season with some promise, and they start seasons quite poorly, and then they end up doing decently towards the end of the season.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, right? Like it's bizarre, and on paper their squad is very good. It's just not
Yeah.
translating for me,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Uh, it's
definitely.
bizarre. Yeah, like it's it's an interesting one. So this isn't a defender coming in. So something Villa did was they did leak quite a bit of goals last season. So good to shore up defensively. Um, this is probably one of the bigger acquisitions that Villa has made because they were going to trigger a release clause, but they ended up just getting a transfer fee, so it worked out a little bit better for them. She's a really good defender who is capable of playing through a lot of pressure. So when you do have kind of an aggressive press, she's very a little more calm on the ball and more composed. So it's probably something Villa need in the back line. And she also steps into midfield to intercept balls. So she's not afraid to kind of come out of that defensive back line and really get a little bit engaged and anticipate any sort of movement through the midfield, which is important for Villa because they got played through their midfield quite a bit last season. And she is really good on the one-on-one, and she positions herself pretty well in one-on-one defending. So if you think of some of those very direct strikers, a la Bunny Shaw, Bethany England, Kelly Gago, as we were just mentioning maybe like more of a Stina Blackstenius over Alessio Russo, very direct strikers. You're going to want someone who's a little bit more comfortable one-on-one and who's in a better position to try to mitigate the threats that those attackers will bring, for sure.
That makes sense. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely. Absolutely. And one more I'm going to bring up, and I apologize because we're going to hit a little bit of a big club, only because this one went a little bit under the radar in terms of no WSL posting about it, and no, not a lot of journalists picked this one up, and that was Chelsea acquiring Manaka Matsukubo, a Japanese international.
Mm.
Surprisingly, it went a little bit quiet, other than Chelsea posting about it, obviously. So they picked her up from the North Carolina Courage, which is in the NWSL. She's a young Japanese attacking midfielder, but can also play as a forward. 22, almost 22 years old, so very, very young still. They triggered her release clause. We don't know what those figures are like yet, but when you trigger release clause, the club is obligated to engage in this transfer. Something about Manaka that's really interesting and fun to me from watching a lot of the NWSL, excuse me, is she's really, really good creatively. So she plays in between lines, and as of a Japanese player, you know how technical they are, right? They're really good in close, like very closed spaces, very tight spaces. She
Yes.
operates very well in those. So you think of like a Yui Hasegawa, little small short passes because they're
Mm.
so comfortable in those tighter areas, even when they're being pressed, right? So again, she can play as a number 10 or a wide forward or just even a direct forward. But I think they will play her as a number 10. And she's really, really good in her decision making. So if you watch a lot of her games, whether to continue progressing the ball or whether to pass, very, very elite when it comes to her decision making. So this is an exciting signing for Chelsea, probably one that they need. And she was on, I believe, 9 goals and goal contributions in 9 games in the North Carolina Courage. So basically, 1 goal contribution per game from the games she played up until she transferred. So very good in terms of contributing to the goals, which Chelsea lacked last season. So one to watch out for sure.
Sounds
And
awesome.
another Japanese player in the WSL, which they
Oh,
love.
you can give me all the Japanese players. They are
You love them.
absolutely
I
well.
know.
It's the precision. It's the precision of their playing. Their
Yeah.
intelligent play, and because they don't have the
Hmm.
physicality, it is that darting
Hmm.
in and out of spaces. They find those spaces. They kind of
Yes.
almost trick
Yeah.
players, don't they?
Hmm.
And oh no, sorry, here we go.
Hmm.
I'm going over here. You've had it now. I've just forwarded the ball for
Exactly.
attack. But they just are very clever players, I think,
Yeah.
and intelligent players.
Intelligent, yeah, very intelligent, very clever, and they're just so fun to watch. Like, I
Yeah.
could probably watch between Japan and Spanish players, I could probably watch them all day long and never get bored because it's just mesmerizing how incredible. I'm just like, how did you do that with your foot? Or how did you see
Yes.
that? Where did it
Yeah.
come from? It's absolutely
Yeah.
fascinating. But yeah, another Japanese player, exciting one. And a couple of other ones I wanted to speak about on this side of the pond. So one of them, Montreal Roses, which is our team here in the Northern Super League, signed Eve Parise, versatile defender, has played kind of everywhere. She was in France. She played in the WSL for a couple of years at Chelsea. She went over to Mexico. So this is probably one of the most decorated signings our small league over here has made. It's quite exciting. I genuinely jumped out of my seat when I saw this. Unfortunately, she signed for Montreal, which is a problem for me because of loyalty reasons. However, I will, I will put that aside just to say that this is pretty exciting. She's very, very good, Eve Perisset, for people who've watched her, and I think WSL fans will know for sure. One-on-one defending, very, very calm in playing out from the back when she's playing as a fullback. And she's got a lot of leadership, from playing in Champions League, from playing in the WSL. So gonna be bringing a lot of that to this developing league over here, and very good crosser. So when she would get up the pitch and cross the ball from that right back position, extremely like the precision on her crossing was fantastic. So I'm very excited to see her in the in the NSL over here bring some of those attributes that I've absolutely loved watching over the years. And it's really exciting to see people wanting to come here and to sign here, Bev. I know what it feels like from a WSL standpoint, but it kind of warms my heart a little bit that people are starting to maybe catch on that there's some projects building out here. And of course, it is a developing league, but really exciting to see a big name like that come over. And another one that WSL fans will be very familiar with is Shalina Zadorsky. She just left West Ham. She's come over to Toronto, so a defender, a versatile defender as well. Mostly a center back, though. She's a Canadian international, so she's coming back home to play, which is always lovely that our players now have the opportunity to come home and play. Very organized, very physical in her defending, and good airily, so she can get on the end of some set pieces as well. Bev, when you hear of, these players kind of coming over to more of a developing league, does it kind of pique your interest in what's going on in other parts of the world when it comes to kind of leagues that they have and what's going on in those leagues and how they're developing?
Well, yes, Dan, because it casts the net further afield. So I keep talking about these little nodes, but if you cast,
Hmm.
you establish them in terms of women's football. If you
Hmm.
establish them throughout the world, then it does.
Hmm.
It kind of raises people's interest. Oh, what's going on in the NWSL? That's fantastic. So, and then you get
Hmm.
fans and increased supporters for the NWSL, don't you?
Yeah.
And it's not just
Hmm.
about the WSL. And then you look over into
Hmm.
Australia, because we've mentioned, players coming over from Australia and little
Hmm.
academies that are not known, which is going to be very exciting for the WSL. Some of the signings that you mentioned earlier on, Dan. So I think
Absolutely.
it is just casting the net further afield,
Hmm.
and it's
Agreed.
increasing momentum, generally speaking,
Hmm.
for interest in the
It
women's
is.
game and investment in the women's game and televisation and sponsorship, and everything else follows, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. And yeah, it's quite exciting. And honestly, we're only on the 20th of July today. So that means that the transfer window in most leagues is going to be open until end of August, early September, depending on where you're located. So the chaos that we've been talking about so far, I feel like is going to get more chaotic, Bev. And we're going to have to brace ourselves for what potentially could be coming down the pipes. Um, yeah, it's a lot. There's going to be a lot going on. We're going to keep you guys completely informed or as much as possible. We do have a podcast next week. We're going to speak to a fan of Arsenal, much to my dismay. I'm just joking. And speak about the club. Perfect way to start off. You know what? We'll just say we're starting alphabetically. Arsenal. There we go. And we're going to speak about the we're going to speak about the club a little bit, some of the history that this fan may know about, some of the community that Arsenal has built, what they've meant in the women's game because it has been incredible to the WSL and to English football in general. And we're going to speak at that point with this fan also about some of the signings Arsenal have made because they've been pretty busy the last couple of weeks. They've had quite a bit of signings, and I think Bev and I are going to give our opinions on those signings as well and what they mean, and kind of hear it from also from an Arsenal fan standpoint to see kind of what it feels like as a fan to see some of these signings coming in, and then from the outside looking inward, which is always an interesting perspective.
Yeah, and added to that is the Katie McCabe gate, and what it's like a view from an ex-Arsenal player over to a big rival, obviously Chelsea, biggest rival I would
Yeah,
say for Arsenal. So yeah,
indeed.
and the context of like building community as Arsenal women's team has built a community of fans in what it's like to be a member of that
Hmm.
community. And
Exactly. Yep.
can I just add that Lola
Hmm.
Brown hasn't rejoined Crystal Palace? That's the end of it.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you for clearing it up. I was genuinely confused. I'm like, maybe she
Yeah.
did, maybe she didn't. Who even knows anymore? I don't
Well,
even
I
know.
think it
But as
just
I
goes,
mentioned, I will not. Yeah.
sorry, Dan, it just goes to show that you've got to kind of um, do your
Keep track.
research. Yeah, it's where your
Yeah.
research sources are coming from. Always get a backup.
Yes, it's true. It's really true. And also just kind of speaks to how crazy these transfers and all this stuff has been because you can literally miss news. 10 things could be, said in a day or reported in a day, and you might pick up 9 of them and miss that 10th one, and that 10th one might be the one that you're talking about.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
honestly, not surprised. Yeah.
But going back to Crystal Palace,
Hmm.
because obviously it's Ashley Reardon that is with Bethany England. Still, I think that between
Hmm.
them, there's enough creativity there to cause a few problems
Hmm.
and experience and
Hmm.
leadership.
Perfect. Yeah, I agree completely. And you never know, like I said, the window is open for quite some time, so you never know who Crystal Palace might also pick up. Whether that's through a loan or an actual signing. And they might even look to the WSL too for some more creative players, like Lexi Lloyd Smith. She has joined as well, right? So she's joining from a WSL2 team. So that's always fun to see players that they've maybe been playing against for so long now, and they recognize that they might have. They might struggle a little bit, but there is so much potential there to bring those players up to the league and kind of get them that experience as well, which is going to be good for them and good for the club. So you never know what other moves are going to be made between now and September, whenever the window closes. I think it's the 4th or the 5th of September, so quite some time now. And there's
Yep,
probably going to be a lot of rumors floating around.
yep, yep. Well,
Definitely.
we'll have to have a
So,
few lie downs in a darkened room then, Dan, won't we?
oh my gosh, we might have to. We might get very excited about these transfers, and then it might absolutely tire us because we're trying to keep track of all of them. So if we sound like we haven't slept, guys, that's probably why. No, I'm kidding. I'm just joking. Um, Oh my goodness. Well, Bev, thank you so much for this episode. I think it was really fun to kind of go over some of the more under the radar signings. And again, there's going to be a lot of chat between now and September about signings. So we will not have, there will not be a lack of them. I think so.
Yeah, plenty to talk about going forward, Dan, I think.
Absolutely. And again, next week we will be joined by an Arsenal fan to speak all things Arsenal. So make sure all of our Arsenal fans are logging in and joining and subscribing and downloading and all of the above because I think it's going to be a fun episode. Thank you so much for listening in today.
Thank you. Thank you, Dan.
Thanks, Beth. See ya. Bye, everyone.